Hey guys, this is Brett Stratton, member of Team DDG, and you're listening to Dead Draw Gaming, like no one ever was.
What's up, Dead Drawers, and welcome to episode number 74 of Dead Draw Gaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast like no one ever was. We have a super exciting episode for you guys today, so if you are hyped just like we are, make sure to hit that like button down below and share this podcast with all of your friends. But before we get too far into all of the things today, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you guys to my co-hosts who are with me every single week. Hello, Danny. Hello, Darrin. What's going on today?
Hey, guys. What is up? Darrin here. I am extremely excited to be here this week. Oh, my gosh. I can't wait to talk about Team DDG and how much our dudes crushed it this weekend. Holy smokes. It was awesome. But before that, Danny, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I enjoyed a nice weekend watching some of Costa Mesa, at least some of what was streamed, because some of it wasn't streamed, at least like the first 3 rounds didn't really get streamed. But I spent a lot of time continuing to sort through everything. I got all of the reverse hollows sorted. If you watched our last vlog, we ran out of boxes, so I got more of those in. Those came in with a bunch of Lucario GX boxes and some shiny Darkrai boxes. So I had a busy weekend working outside of my normal working, but it's if you love what you do, you never work, right? That's the saying. Something like that. So I'm good. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing great. Had a good weekend. Team DDG wise, that's like Darrin said, just everyone killed it. It was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to follow along. And a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Some stress because of it, but nonetheless super exciting, and can't wait to get everything rolling. So, but that we'll have to talk about on a later date. So for now, I think we can probably talk about today's agenda.
Yeah.
So for episode 74, you guys, we are going to start out with Pokemon news like we always do. And then I, earlier today, recorded an interview with the Salvador Brazil Regional's second place winner, I guess. Second place finalist. Finisher. There we go.
Yeah,
second
finalist works finisher.
Too. Brett Stratton. Then we are going to talk about Costa Mesa and Salvador overall, just a rewind of the tournaments that happened. Then we're going to be talking a little bit about judges and what they are responsible for throughout the day, and some of the different things, because there's been a lot of talk about those recently. Then we will do our weekly top 5, where we are going to give you guys our top 5 gym leaders from any region. Then we're going to do our question of the week, our buy, sell, trade of the week, our open discussion, and our wrap. So as always, I will pass it over to Danny and Darrin, who can talk to you guys about whatever kind of Pokemon news we have that is non-TCG related.
Very cool. All right, I will hop in here with some Pokemon Go news. Not a whole heck of a lot. Basically, the biggest news is that until the 16th, we are receiving double XP. That's right. You're always going to have a lucky egg active when you open the game, and if you throw on an actual lucky egg, you're going to receive triple XP. That sounds pretty cool, right?
That does sound cool.
There's also some new raid bosses that are going to be available for the next week or so. They are Executor and Slowbro, and then the 3-star bosses include Aerodactyl, Alakazam, Claydol, Starmie, and Scyther, and then a 4-star boss of Charizard. So this is extremely helpful because some of these Pokemon are incredibly hard to get. Claydol, Aerodactyl, Charizard are very tough to find in this area. So if you got to get them Pokemon, head on out and find yourself a little raid. Most players around level 30 can do a 3-star raid on their own, and boy, I wouldn't suggest doing a 4-star on your own, but you can attempt it, I suppose.
I actually opened up Pokemon Go for a few minutes last week, and is Plusle in the game?
Yes, Plusle and Minoon are both available. They were originally region exclusive. Like, we only had one of them, but now you can get both.
Okay, so I opened up the game, and I saw a Plusle, and I used 6 Pokeballs on it, didn't catch it, and then I was like, forget this, and then I used a Great Ball on it and didn't catch it, and then I got mad and closed the game. So that was the end.
Oh, no.
Pokemon Go experience for the week, I guess.
Dang.
Pretty much it.
Dang.
Yeah, pretty bad. Otherwise, we can move in. There's not a whole lot of non-TCG. There's not a whole lot of news this week in general, unfortunately. But that's because we did get a lot of the scans that came out last week already. So I'll just go over a couple of brief things from Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So we already talked about the global mission last week, but I do want to talk about the Ultra Sinnoh Classic Battle Competition. If you participated in that, the entry gift is now available to all qualifying players. You can log into the global link, and then you get 50 battle points. Those need to be redeemed by April 29th. And then the new special battle rules for Season 9 have been revealed. Season 9 will run from March 13th to May 14th. That starts next week and runs on Sun and Moon and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, with rankings separate to each other. This rule set blocks usage of Mega Stones, Z Crystals, Focus Sash, and Eviolite. And you can only select 2 Pokemon for the battle. So it's a double battle. There's a bunch of restrictions. Most of them are legendary that you can't use. Other than that, there is a little bit of news as far as the new game of Detective Pikachu that comes out soon. This news is pretty much exclusive to our Japanese listeners. But brand new 3DS theme is now available in Japan. When you purchase the download version of Detective Pikachu on the Nintendo 3DS eShop, you will be sent a download code to receive the Detective Pikachu theme. This theme features music from Detective Pikachu and various images of Detective Pikachu and a Mimikyu as you scroll. And then ahead of its launch globally in 2 weeks on March 23rd, Detective Pikachu is available to preload on the Japanese Nintendo 3DS eShop and requires 14,082 blocks, which is about 1.7 gigabytes. This game comes at a discount until April 22nd. If you have purchased the previous release of Detective Pikachu, Birth of a New Duo, at present it is not clear when the upload will go live outside of Japan, but we will post when it does. That comes from Sarah B. Outside of that, that's pretty much it for non-TCG related news. So, Dan, if you want to take us to some Pokemon TCG.
I do want to do that. And even then, TCG news, you guys, we're super light this week. We did get, I think we already had this, but I just want to a quick couple of highlights. All of Forbidden Light scans are in, so we know what all the cards do. Nothing too crazy here that we haven't already talked about, but one thing I did want to mention, because I just counted them, and I don't remember if we've ever had a set with like this many trainer cards and this many like different trainer cards. There's 17 trainer cards in this set. Like, am I just misremembering things, or like this is a lot?
Seems high.
Right?
It's pretty big.
Wasn't there a lot in Shining Legends? Shining Legends had like 13 or 14, I feel like, and it was a smaller set, but it had a bunch of reprints in it. Like another Ultra Ball, and then it had a couple of new ones, like, what was it, Damage Mover, and it had Hala again, and How, and a bunch of random stuff in it. It's like they just took every unplayable trainer card and threw it into Shining Legends, and they're like, here you go.
6, 7, 8, 9. Well, one of the interesting things about these 17 trainer cards, 9 of them are reprints.
Perfect.
Not perfect. That's actually incredibly frustrating. Especially considering, for the most part, they are all cards that all players already have. Rare Candy, the Unidentified Fossil, Ultra Ball, Switch, Pokemon Catcher, Choice Band, Judge, How, and Lily.
Well, I'm really glad that How is going to be in the format for another few years. That's good.
One other note to make on just all the scans coming out is we're finally getting the 4th unit energy. So Fairy Dark Fighting will also be coming in this set.
Yeah,
And it's super pretty.
it is.
It's definitely the color scheme here is very good a lot. So, but those are just the other quick things. Now another cool thing is we did get like the SM6A set revealed. So this is going to be SM7 for us. But Dragonstorm. So this is like the set coming in like what? This will be the world set if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, it would be. So August, whatever.
Yeah. So we did get the full set list. Most of the cards on here are, all of them, honestly, are completely unreadable. The highlights are including Victini Prism Star, Reshiram GX, Kingdra GX, Dragonite GX, a new Flygon, White Kyurem EX, and then Lance Prism Star are going to be like the hits, I guess, that come out of this. So
Okay.
yeah, crazy excited for a Lance. There's also going to be a Blaine in the set. So full art Blaine, let's go.
Okay.
And then it looks like Aqua Patch reprint and Kiawe reprint.
Gross. I was hoping they wouldn't reprint Aqua Patch. Also, do you think Primeape could have an alternate form, like a Alolan Primeape as a dragon?
Ooh.
No, I want it now.
So that way it could be in this set, Alolan Primeape GX.
Boy.
And this is obviously only half the set, so... Or... This is a small portion. 53 cards, excluding secret rares.
Yeah, secret rares, full arts.
Fire, water, and dragon. Alolan Primeape could move to a fire type. Or it could just be Primeape GX as a fire type. It's got the Fire Punch GX attack. Leave your opponent dead. I got nothing. I don't know. Something.
But
I am curious to see what a lot of these do. Lance Prism Star, I'm excited about. Victini Prism Star, I'm hoping it does something with flipping coins, even though it probably won't.
well, at least two of those cards we did get clear images for, which means we did get some version, or like most of the text on some of these cards. One of those cards being Dragonite EX, or excuse me, Dragonite GX. Yes, GX. Wow. I don't think I've made that mistake in a long time. Anyways, Dragonite GX, it is a dragon type stage 2 with 250 HP that evolves from Dragonair. It has 3 attacks. Its first attack for 1 lightning energy Dragon Claw does 70 damage. Its second attack for a water lightning colorless does Giga Impact for 200 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. And then its last attack, colorless, Dragon Porter GX. We don't know how much damage it does. It has an unreadable effect, but it looks like it moves Dragonite to the bench before doing damage. With a weakness to Fairy, no resistance, and a retreat cost of at least 1.
250 HP.
Yeah,
It's pretty beefy.
Yeah, I mean, Metagross has it though too.
Yeah, but Metagross is playable.
We don't know what Dragon Porter GX does, but I don't think it's good enough to make this card playable.
1 lightning energy to do 70 damage, 100 damage with a choice band. I mean, that's not bad.
It'd be super good if they made dragons weak to each other again.
It'd be super good if anything was weak to dragons.
And
This is weak to dairy, so...
Thanks, Poke Beach.
Thanks, Beach.
I mean, to be fair, so is my wife. She can't handle dairy either.
Got her. I think Reshiram GX as like one of the rainbow rare cards is going to be very, very cool looking.
Oh, definitely.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Reshiram GX, this card is also not that great, but we'll talk about it. It is a fire type GX Pokemon with 180 HP. It is a basic Pokemon. Has 3 attacks. Again, its first attack for a colorless energy flame charge. Search your deck for a basic fire energy card and attach it to this Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. Its second attack for fire colorless scorching pillar does 110 damage. Has an unreadable effect. And then its GX for fire colorless for 1,000,000 GX. 180 damage with another unreadable effect. Weak to water, no resistance, and a retreat cost of 2.
Depending on what its effects are. I mean, you have Kiawe. So.
I was just going to say, we have Kiawe, but even then, that is a high, like, as long as it's not like 110 damage, discard 2 energy, do some bench damage, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what Reshirams have done in the past, and it's either been a really bad Reshiram EX or it's outraged. And I honestly think that's it.
Scorching Pillar. Maybe it'll be something with an effect like Burn or something.
Yeah, they've been really hard on Burn lately, and it's not good.
Mm-hmm. The other 2 cards that came out that we got clear images for, that neither of these were in the Dragon Storm, which I thought was kind of weird because one of them is Salamence GX. But anyways, Salamence GX, it is a dragon type stage 2 that evolves from Shelgon, again with 250 HP. So this one has an ability and 2 attacks. Its ability is Dragon Guard, effect unreadable, but probably protects dragon Pokemon in some way, like turning off weakness. It has 2 attacks then. Its first attack for fire, water, colorless, bright flame, 200 damage, possibly an unreadable effect. It says discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Salamence EX from the EX series way back actually had the same art that this card has and that same attack, so that's probably what they're looking at. Then it's GX attack for fire, colorless, flame flight GX, no damage with an unreadable effect. So we'll see what happens here. It's weak to fairy, no resistance, and a retreat cost again of at least 1. Then Articuno GX, it is a water type Pokemon with 170 HP. It is a basic Pokemon. It has an ability and 2 attacks. Its ability, Legendary Ascent. So they can't really read it, but they're saying if it's the same as the Articuno EX from way back in the EX format days. When you play this Pokemon to your bench, you may switch your active Pokemon with this Pokemon. If you do, you may also move any number of basic water energy cards attached to your Pokemon to this Pokemon. Its first attack for water colorless, Ice Wing does 120 damage. And then its GX attack for a water energy, Cold Crush GX. Now again, we don't know for sure. This is a guess because the card is unreadable. But the one on Articuno EX Red, you may discard an energy attached to Articuno EX. If you do, your opponent discards an energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Articuno GX attack does no damage, won't be the same. Probably some stupid effect of the original attack. And the reason is because both Articuno and Salamence do have the same arts. So that I think is super cool. I guess it depends on like the effect of Salamence's GX attack and then what this Reshiram's effects are. But none of these cards are really like, yo, these are so good.
No, they're really not. They're not very. They just don't seem very good. I know that we don't know all the stats on these cards, but they just don't seem great.
Yeah, I'm not looking at any of these. Like nothing has caught my fancy yet, I guess. But I'll let one of you guys talk about these other cards that we got in.
Yeah. How about? Let's see. How about man, is it worth talking about the Dedenne? It has Nuzzle, I guess.
That's really the only thing.
Yeah, so there's a 70 HP Dedenne coming out. It has Nuzzle for an attack. It also has an attack called Snuggly Bomb. Choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each of your Pokemon that has a Nuzzle attack. This does 10 damage to that Pokemon. So that's interesting, I guess.
More spread damage.
Yeah. Can hit bench. You can choose one of. I mean, just it kind of sucks. You can't do it to the active Pokemon because it says choose one of your opponent's benched. But whatever. Alolan Sandslash, 120 HP Metal type. Stage 1 evolves from Alolan Sandshrew. That's a misprint there. Mistype.
Got him.
Got him. First attack for 1 Metal Energy, Metal Claw, 20 damage. Second attack for Metal Colorless does rolling attack, 80 plus damage. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 40 more damage. Weak to fighting, resists psychic, retreat cost of 2. Bad card. All right.
Well, yeah, that card actually has 2 misprints. It is weak to fire.
Dude, it totally is weak to fire. I was wondering about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway. Alolan Ninetales, 110 HP, Fairy type, not Water type, and evolves from Alolan Vulpix. First attack for double colorless, Smash Kick, 30 damage. Second attack for Fairy colorless, Spiral Drain, does 80 damage. Heals 30 damage from this Pokemon. Weak to metal, resists dark, retreat cost of 1. Bad. It's really not good. These are some bad cards. Okay.
It's cool that we're getting like the alternate typings of these Pokemon and like instead of the ice versions, but
right.
Or water types, whatever. But yeah, no, they're bad. Super bad. All these cards are bad.
Just their only redeeming quality is they're decent. More than decent. They're very, very good art. I like the art on Sandslash.
Absolutely.
And on Vulpix. And you know what? Dedenne is just a cute guy, so whatever. So there's that leak.
Yeah, that's all we got for news, unless you guys got something.
No, it was just a bad week as far as news goes. Last week was pretty heavy. They got all the leaks officially from Forbidden Light were finalized, so now we're going to run into this little lull for a few weeks probably before these new scans that we got start coming into place a little bit, which is fine.
Yeah, and it's actually really fine for this week because we have a super special segment with Dan. Dan, you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, so earlier today, I sat down and did an interview with the Salvador Regional's finalist, Brett Stratton. He's also a team member of Team DDG. So I want to give just another quick congratulations to him on his finish there. The interview did go on a little bit longer than I was expecting, so that might push this episode a little bit longer than we normally have, you guys. So sorry about that, but Brett had a lot of really good things to say. So here it is. I hope you enjoy. All right, guys. So thanks for listening to episode 74 of the podcast. I am now sitting down with Brett Stratton. Brett, hello.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Brett Stratton. I am on the DDG Am team here, and I've been playing Pokemon on and off since 2012. I made the leap into like really competitive traveling for my invite and everything back in 2015, but I've also been dealing with a lot of tough college stuff, and this year I started with DDG. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm currently doing a study abroad trip in Brazil. And during this trip, I decided I still wanted to play because there's a pretty good scene down here. And yeah, I'm here to talk about my run at Salvador Regionals.
Absolutely, and what a great run it was for you at Salvador Regionals. As you mentioned, being a finalist, getting that second place. So obviously, let's just start at the beginning. What did you decide to play, and what was kind of the reason behind what you chose?
Definitely. The exact deck I played is Zoroark Golisopod with a Pseudo-Wudo from Breakpoint with a counter energy so that I could use its Watch and Learn attack. I think my mental process going into this was I first arrived to Brazil and I wasn't too sure what to play yet. I'd been testing like a madman with the new format and it felt like there's a lot of viable stuff that came out, but at the same time I was just kind of goofing around. I built like Empoleon, Dugtrio, never tried quite into Garchomp, but I just tested a lot of random stuff that I felt like never had time to, and I had a lot of downtime when I first got here, so I just played a lot. I started going to the local tournaments in my town, Belo Horizonte, and I think the first thing I noticed is that I definitely underestimated the players here. I tried to just bring whatever goofy stuff I was building, and I got totally railed, so I started trying a little more serious. I first started with Espeon, but it's a little sketched out by stuff like Volcanion and Tapu Bulu, which is very popular down here. So I switched over to Glaceon Garb, because I'm like, oh, that'll definitely beat Volcanion, but Glaceon's not a deck I'm going to be talking about anymore. Finally, I decided I got my last 55 championship points with Zoroark, Lycanroc, so I went towards the Zoroark route, just thought, okay, I know Zoroark is reliable, I'll play that. Lycanroc version was not quite getting it there for me, though. I was losing a lot to random Buzzwole decks online. That didn't feel good, so I went back to the drawing board, and I realized I never really gave the Glisspod variants a fair shake, and I really like their whole like healing and winning slowly aspect, and they just have a lot of things going on in that deck that I like about it. I missed Lycanroc's ability, but after testing a few games with it, I saw its power, and I decided I like to start from Igor's list first because I thought Sudowoodo was really strong for the mirror match, be able to use Watch and Learn, as well as some of these other things I was worried about, like Hose, Phoenix Burn, Tapu Bulu, Duskmane Necrozma. So I stuck with that, and I tested it out, and it was doing well for me online. And I tested out a few other things. I looked at the Lurantis list, I looked at Russell's Oranguru thing, and I eventually settled on just changing about 2 or 3 cards from Igor's list.
Awesome. So, what were the 2 or 3 changes that you ended up making? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Yeah. I believe what I had changed was Igor played 2 Mallow and 1 Acerola. I'm pretty sure the logic to that was because with Sudowoodo counter, kind of a little cutesy play, you needed that Mallow to be able to go find it. But I really felt uncomfortable with only 1 Acerola because that's really big in the mirror match, and just other things were getting 2 shots to keep healing. So I swapped it over, and I didn't miss the second Mallow at all. I also, let's see, I definitely cut the Max Potion from the list, and that wasn't like my biggest, most comfortable thing I was feeling about. In fact, I'd say that's the card I missed the most was Max Potion, but by cutting it, I put in a second Parallel, and I do think that was more important. Having 2 Parallel really let me manage the Stadium War against other Zoroark decks, and in general, just having better chances of having in your turn 1 hand really cripples their turn 1 Bridget if they had to Lele for it. So I was really happy with doing that, and Max Potion is definitely a thing I missed. And I think I was only 2 cards off because up until the morning of, I did drop a Field Blower for the Oranguru, kind of going with what Russell had done. I really did like being able to throw back in like a set of puzzles, your hammer, your city, parallel cities. But after watching my roommates just hype up Garbodor all night, I did not feel comfortable rolling with only 2 Field Blowers to the tournament.
So, I guess with roommates and what kind of testing you would do, you kind of maybe got at least a little bit of look into the meta as what you could have expected. And you were kind of telling us like why you stayed away from your league and everything, or what decks you stayed away from because of playing at your league. So it's kind of cool, that you at least had a chance to see what was going on before strolling into a regionals with no idea, being in a new country and everything. So
no. If anything, I think the lesson I learned the most is, even though I'm in a new country and maybe the players aren't as well known, like, the meta won't deviate wildly. Like, I still saw a lot of Zoroark, a lot of Gardevoir, a lot of Buzzwole, like in Rock. Like, the decks that do well in the U.S. also do well down here. It's not a huge transparency. Everybody knows what the good decks are. Other thing I will mention, though, is I do have to crab my roommates a lot. I felt like if I just strolled in, like you said, I would have done really badly, but my roommates were a huge asset in me testing for this tournament. I was really scared of the Buzzwole Lycanroc matchup still, knowing that would be a popular deck. And I think they helped me put out like 10 plus games against it in the 2 days before the regional, so I could get that matchup down on lock. And just some other random things like helping me beat Garb, helping me play for the mirror, and also we just kind of tested decks that we all were considering. They were definitely like having trouble picking a deck, so it helped because they would like build a deck and then I play Zoropod against it because that's a matchup worth seeing how you play against.
Right. So, speaking of matchups, it's a little bit different, the regionals there, as far as day 2s and cuts are concerned. Even with Swiss only playing 8 rounds versus playing 9 like you would here. So after playing 9, I think you were, what, 5th seed going into day?
3rd seed.
3rd seed, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
So 3rd seed going into day 2 at 6-1-1. Day 2 being only a top 8. They don't play Swiss rounds on a day 2 like we do here. So, I guess one thing that I'd like to ask you, I guess let's just get like into your top 8 matchups, or like, maybe kind of like throughout the day, what are the differences that you saw or you noticed from playing only 8 rounds to 9? Is there much of a difference? And then I guess, the kind of feeling that you get from going into a top 8, because you've top 8 at regionals here also in the States. Yeah. So, like, just the difference between, playing through Swiss twice to get to top 8 and playing through Swiss once to get to top 8.
Well, I do have to give a small correction for that, because that originally top 8'd was Kansas City in 2016, I believe. And that was actually only 108 people, so that was another one where I went 702, straight in the top 8. So if there's one thing
never mind.
Yeah, there's one thing I've had trouble with, though. It's doing well on day 2. That time I top 8, I just got completely bodied in top 8. And any other time I have made day 2 at a top 32 style regional, I just seem to be out of my mind. So I think there's a nice little break the curse to actually be able to do well in a day 2 setting. But to answer your question more directly, I definitely think there's some trade-offs to this change of pace. I think the biggest thing that I'd say is a huge pro is that there's a huge difference in fatigue. That 9th round definitely adds a bit, and I think the smaller people lets the turnaround for the rounds go quicker. I think we were done by like 7 o'clock, which is honestly amazing.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a big difference. I was able to test a little bit more against some of the matches I was expecting to hit in top 8, and then still have some time to enjoy a beer and then go to sleep.
Right, which that's the play.
Yeah, that's the play. You gotta take that edge off a little bit, but then top 8. That's the only thing where fatigue. It's nice to get rid of the fatigue for going to top 8. Like, you're not too worn out. You haven't been playing Pokemon for 6 hours already. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's a very nerve-wracking that your first game in day 2 is going to be single elimination, and if you're like a little out of it, then you're just gonna choke and go home.
Yeah, because maybe you don't get the warm-up that you have, right?
Exactly. The first time I made day 2 at a regional, I woke up 5 minutes before I was supposed to be down there. Fortunately, I was across the street, and I ran over there. I got my deck checked quick, and then I went and played Dustin Zerman and just got a quick 2-0. And I'm happy that day 2 kind of gives you a little leeway, because then you can take that first round L if you're out of it for some reason. You're not out of it yet, but It's not the case here. When we have top 8, we're going right to it.
Right. So let's start with your matchups in top 8. I guess let's start with your top 8 matchup. It should hopefully still be sort of fresh in your memory. Just kind of tell us how it went, what happened, and what brought you to victory. Yeah,
so anyways, against top 8, I played against Vitor Soares, who was playing Buzzwole, Lycanroc, and I had already faced him once in round 6, and I won 2-0, so I was feeling pretty confident going into this again, but I kept a little bit of skepticism just because Buzzrock can just load a bunch of elixirs and do its thing. So I played very carefully and made sure I was being cautious. I think to win the Buzzrock matchup as Zoropod, you have to kind of play to your outs. They're going to be doing a lot of things, have a lot of different attackers, so you need to kind of stay on top of what they're doing and try to one-up them. And I think one big thing that helps that a lot of people don't do in this matchup is just focus on getting your Zoras out first. I think in both games I just, at least game 1 I know I bridgeted for just 3 Zora, and I didn't even worry about a Wimpod, because to me it's more important to make sure I have 1 survive, because if you bridge it for 2 Zora and a Wimpod and then they Guzma one of your Zora, you're down to 1 Zoroark after that turn, and you're going to be in really bad shape from there because they can kill that Zoroark very quickly. But with 3, then I almost always have 2 Zoroarks going into turn 2. If they can't Guzma me, then I got 3 going. So I think I actually even started 1 Zora, so I got my Lele, bridged for 3 Zora. Even I didn't care about having 4 out because I really wanted to make sure my Zoroark stayed alive after the first few turns of punching around. And I went for that because in my hand I had Floatstone, DC, Choice Band. I had a really honestly I'd say my perfect opening hand. So I just retreated. I was going second, and I hit his Buzzwole for 90 damage, I think. And the following turn, he did get a Guzma, killed one of them, and then I actually slapped a second DC on the Lele to make sure I cleaned up that Buzzwole. And from there, I was expecting, the Lele was going to die. I got Wimpod out, and I was going to have to be kind of playing a little cautiously here, see how he follows up. But he actually started to stumble a little bit. He put up his, I think he put up a Rockruff with an energy and was getting ready to like go for a Dangerous Rogue, and he even slapped second energy, play a Sycamore, and he just didn't seem to find what he needed. So he chose to just retreat back to his Remoraid and pass. And that put me in a weird spot, but I felt comfortable just using my Lele of 4 energy to just kill the Remoraid, because that's going to get rid of his draw engine and keep me in a good shape. And I think that's just another important thing about this matchup, is that if you can keep the Octillery off the board, then you really cripple them a lot. I remember learning that when I watched Primeape beat Pablo Meza in, I think that was Memphis. That's just really important to like keep their draw engine down if you can manage to do it. And even though it put me down 3 prizes, I knew that if you went for another Remoraid or benched another Rockruff, I would have an easy way to clean up the game. And yeah, from there, he put up a bit of a threat, but at that point I was down to 3 prizes, and I think between a Mew and a Gliscod, I just kind of cleaned up the game there. And then we went into game 2, and he started very fast. He went first again, got a lot of elixirs, did all his things, and it had been a turn. I bridged, got my setup and passed, but I think I did put out a Wimp out of the grass energy to start my setup, and he started punching my poor little Zoras, and after another turn, I was like all ready to go for the Mew play, but I just could not for the life of me find a DCE. So I held the Mew in my hand because I didn't want it to get killed, and I decided I was just going to Guzma up the Octillery and leave my Tapu Koko active and just pass because I had nothing to do. And weirdly enough, after all his draw power, he did not find a way to retreat the Octillery. So again, I was like, well, there's a good chance for me to kill the Octillery, so I'll take it. I evolved to Gliscod, put it up, killed it, and from there, he actually blew up a little bit on me. I was a little worried I was going to lose the game. He got like 3 energy, one with a strong energy and a choice band on his Buzzwole, and used was a Knuckle Impact to just one-shot the Gliscod straight up. Was not ready for that. And then the following turn is like, okay, well now I can finally use Mew to get the kill because I got my DCE. So I killed the Buzzwole, but he still kept just moving fast, and he used Lycanroc's GX attack to kill my Mew. And that really hurt because now he's down to 2 prizes, and I don't see, with that my only Gliscod being dead, I wasn't able to get my second Wimpod out. I didn't see a way to quickly kill this Lycanroc, and all it took was another energy and a Guzma for him to win. But there's enough time that I felt like playing to my out instead of just conceding. So I believe from there I saw my hand. I had another Lele ready, so I put my Tapu Koko, I threw on a DC and a Choice Band, and I end him down to 2 cards. And this is where killing that Octillery was clutch, and why I think it's important, because I put him down to 2, and I hit Lycanroc for 110 damage with Energy Drive. After that, the most meaningful thing he could do was find like an Energy MX Elixir. He threw him onto his Pseudo Wudo and used Watch and Learn to hit me back for 80. And at this point, I looked at my hand again, I used a few trades, and I decided I would Acerola my Tapu Lele to get rid of the easy win condition off the board. And then because he manually retreated that Lycanroc to attack the Pseudo Wudo, as long as I killed the Pseudo Wudo, we had no energy on board. So I threw the DC onto the Zoroark and took the kill with Sudowoodo. And the reason why I Ace rolled the Lele specifically was now I had a Lele back in my hand. So next turn, as long as he couldn't do anything, I just threw the Lele back down at Guzma that Lycanroc for game 2. And to my own surprise, killing the Octillery and getting Enta low was what I needed to win that game.
Awesome. So sounds like a couple of clutch plays there ended up taking it home for you to get yourself into top 4. So run us through your top 4 match.
Yeah, that one was much scarier. Definitely my hardest game of the tournament. My funnest one, and I'm a little bitter it didn't go on to stream because I feel like the Zoropod Buzzguard one wasn't all that fun to watch, and we really played a crazy matchup. I mean, I was talking about my friends on paper, like if they do all their things, like what are you supposed to do about like a deck that trades every like 3 times a turn and hits you for 220 every turn? But we had enough downtime because his game was taking a little while, but his obviously was going to win. So I talked to my friends, and we were thinking, okay, we have to probably make sure we just keep Magnezone off the board. If there's no Magnezone, he can't do his Duskmane Necrozma thing, and we just fight our Zoroarks with their Zoroarks, and we win.
Right.
That being said, I wins a game 1, and I just got completely blown up. He got turn 2 Magnezone, 3 Zoroarks, and Meteor Tempest to knock out my Tapu Lele turn 2. So I don't know. I tried to fight out. Yeah, I was not ready for that. I was still surprised when he like dropped a Professor's Letter, dropped a Mount Coronet, hit all the energy in a turn, just kept throwing Zoroarks and trades down. That was one thing that's strong about the deck is having Mount Coronet to grab your energy and trade those energies is crazy synergy. But anyways, yeah, I tried to like Guzma the Magnezone, hit for like 100, and then I lost another 2 prizes, and I just went to game 2 at that point. I think I did not have much I could do there, but I had enough time to try and win 2 more games, and I believe from there I definitely knew my plan was to get rid of Magnemites and Magnezones as I could help it. Going first helped me with that because I was able to get the first Bridget down, and I was able to get the first attack out. And with getting I believe I got multiple Zoroarks out turn 2 because I did all the setup, and I immediately Guzma'd one of the Magnemites. And to my fortune, he wasn't able to quite get out the Magnezone turn 2, so he tried to like hit me for 100, and I didn't really care. I just Guzma'd the second Magnemite, and I killed it. And this left him in an awkward spot. I think I threw down Parallel City also to like mess him up a little bit. He played like 2 Field Blower and 3 Mount Coronet, but for whatever reason, this Parallel managed to stick it out. But yeah, after that point, it was still just about trying to keep those Magnemites off the board. I know he like played his 2 puzzles just to grab 2 more Magnemite and throw them back down the bench after he got rid of my Parallel City. And this is where I think I had another clutch play because I had a Guzma in hand, but I didn't want him to know that yet. So I played my puzzles for a Parallel City, and then I threw down the Parallel to bait him into ditching one of the Magnemites. And then after that, I Guzma the Magnemite, so I got both Magnemites off the board in a turn. And that did put me down to 3 prizes, but I was okay with that because one play that I did a lot during the tournament is I let myself go to 3 prizes so that my opponent tried to go from 4 to 2, it would activate my Pseudo Wudo. Mm-hmm. And that's like another bait that I tried to use. It didn't really come into factor at this matchup, but that's one reason why I'm comfortable going to odd prizes with the way my deck is built. One scary thing he does, though, after that is when he knows he's not getting Magnezone, he just kind of casually powers up the Duskmane Necrozma because if you're killing all his Magnemites, he's down on prizes, and you can use the GX to blow you up 1 turn, attach another energy, and blow you up like second time with the Meteor Tempest attack. So it's very hard to not have that, though. He was already had 2 energy on the Duskmane Necrozma, so I said, all right, I'm going to have to Guzma this thing, hit it with Golisopod, and I let myself get sacked for 2 prizes, but then I killed it the next turn, and he just had nothing on board after that. And he tried to play it out a little bit, but I just killed another Zoroark, and we were off to game 3. And that one was very much the same thing again. I think we both had a bit of a slow start. Like I got a little worried when I was able to KO a Magnemite turn 2. But despite that, he didn't have a Magnezone out yet, and he couldn't retreat the Magnemite he started active with. So I was able to use my 3rd turn to get some Zoroarks out. Finally got a DCE, and I killed his Magnemite. He finally got his own Magnezone, though, but in that those downturns where I wasn't getting anything done, I started powering up a Golisopod because I knew it was worth using my GX attack to hit 150 exactly and knock out the Magnezone. So that way he was, again, without anything to use. He did get off 1 Meteor Tempest, so he took prizes quickly. But after that, he didn't have anything else to do. And KOing Magnemite Magnezone put me at 4 prizes. We were tied on prizes. I think I took 1 more knockout on Magnemite just to stop him from doing that. It was either Magnemite or Zora. I can't remember exactly. But really, just like stopping his setup was really my strategy for most games, really. Mm-hmm. And after that, I finally KO'd one of his Zoroarks, and he was just trying to load up his bench with whatever he had to get enough damage off with Riotous Beating, because that's all he had to attack with at this point. And we was getting really close to time, and he benched a Dialga and a Duskmane Necrozma to build up damage. And looking at how he'd been playing, I got rid of a lot of his Mount Coronet. I decided to just Guzma up one of his attackers and just keep beating it with Zoroark. And we actually went to time, and it ended at turn 3 with me 1 prizes to 2. So I won like that. But I believe if even without that, I would have won because A, I was going to knock out something next turn, and B, he had to trade through his entire deck just to look for something to do. Mm-hmm. So it was very intense, and I kind of blew through it a little bit, but it was a very crazy game. I think I had to do a lot with Parallel City, a lot of baiting him, a lot of small plays here and there just to work it out. It's another deck like Tapu Bulu or the regular Magnezone Necrozma deck where you just have to like work on getting rid of the engine that creates one-hit knockouts.
Mm-hmm. So again, sounds like a couple of really clutch plays turned the tide. That game one though sounds kind of scary.
Yeah,
Especially
it's
after
really
happening at once. Your mindset's probably in a weird spot. Thinking that
taste in my mouth. Yeah.
yeah, like, okay, well, that was bad. How do I make sure that doesn't happen again in the next game?
Yeah.
So,
Seriously.
but you ended
Anything
up.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's just a good lesson though, because I think right now in this format there's a lot of decks like that. I mean, you've got Necrozma, Bulu. I think I'm missing one, but all those things that just like Ho-Oh too. They just get those crazy big knockouts, and sometimes they just roll 3 for a game, but like their strategy can fall apart so easily that like you might just get completely stomped game 1, but you kind of just have to roll with it and let them give you the hands once and then give it back to them twice.
So, well, with that then, you got the victory for top 4. You went on to the finals. Unfortunately, didn't take it home. But
finals, right?
Tell me about your finals matchup, how that went, what the matchup was, and some of the unfortunate events that occurred along the way.
Yeah, no, I can definitely do that. I definitely think finals was quite a trip. I mean, I just won top 4. I was honestly not expecting to win at that point. Like I said, the matchup did seem really bad on paper. I had to do a lot of like small stuff, and it's just one of those ones where you just barely choke it out. And I think that really frazzled me. We went straight to time, and the judges didn't give me much time in between. I got a chance to run around the convention center, tell everyone I knew that I was in finals. And no, I had like 5 minutes of downtime in between the games. I had a chance to buy a bottle of water, and I was sitting right back down. I don't think the stream tilted me much. I don't know. I've been very comfortable playing on stream before, but that definitely frazzled me. But I was playing against Claudio Ferla, who I beat round 1 of the entire tournament, and I was like, okay, just gotta run through this guy one more time, and we're home. And it's just a mirror. I was already 3-0 in the mirror for the tournament, so I was like, okay, one more time, and we're home. But I don't know. These 3 matches had a lot to do with Sudowoodo. It was a straight mirror match. He played Sudowoodo as well. He also played a Cobalion, and I think he had like some other basic energies in there to power them up too, which I don't know. His deck had a lot going on, but I talked about it with friends, and we think to fit all that stuff, he like cut down on his field blower and parallel counts, which mattered a lot in terms of me winning the stadium war, which, like I said, is really important for the mirror match. So that being said, we both used Sudowoodo, and I'm gonna blame that little bugger for my problems today, even though I should blame myself, because I just to be completely clear, before this point, I had only used Sudowoodo to take 1 prize card throughout the past 10 rounds of Pokemon. And although I think he's really useful, he did not put in his work in this tournament. Maybe it's just because I was winning too hard. I don't know. Didn't get to use counter energy. But, yeah, we tried to... Every time I had an issue come up, I should probably stop foreshadowing, just get into it. I had a few penalties coming up, just to let the viewers know. So I started game 1. I got to go first, which is always a good feeling for the mirror match with Zora, because you're going to get the first knockout, most likely. I went ahead and just got my 4 Zoras out. Similar to Zoropod, I thought it was very, similar to Buzzrock. I think it's important to just get Zoras out first, worry about Golisopod later, because a big thing to this game, I won some other mirrors like this, I just kept killing Zoras as they hit the bench. And letting people only have 1 or 2 Zoroark really matters a lot when you get to the late game, and they need to find those, clutch cards and, we play against Zoroark, they find the clutch cards. That's what they do. But after you put them down to 1 or 2 Zoroark, they're not gonna hit because they've hit the clutch cards the past 2 turns in a row. And now their clutch cards gonna be finding their double puzzles or finding their 3rd or 4th Guzma or their 3rd or 4th N. So that's really big into how you beat the mirror, I think. And so I think my opponent knew the same though. He did a similar play. He just got all his Zoras out and he passed back to me. And I might mess up my order of operations a little bit. I actually goofed up a little bit. That was how Game 3 started, but my advice, if I said, is still relevant, so I'm just going to go in order here. I actually started... This game I started bad. Game 1 was a little rough. It got me a little nervous, but I started Wimpod, had no way to bridge in my hand, so I just attached the Grass Energy and passed. Sorry to throw everybody off for a second, but that's where we were at. he does his turn 1. He gets the whole Bridget. He gets that crazy play that I was talking about. That was actually him there. I was imagining myself in his spot. But he just energy drives my Lele for 60, and it's back to me. I top deck a Sycamore, fortunately, and looking at my plays, I attach a DC and a Choice Band to Wimpod, knowing that I can KO this Lele if I find everything, which it's a little bold, but with the start I had, I kind of need to get a quick knockout. And fortunately, off the Sycamore, I find like a Gliscod and 2 Zora, so I bench 2 Zora, Ultra Ball for like a Tapu Koko to have something to throw up after the crossing cut, and I just take 2 prizes right away, and I keep going. After this, I believe he got a Zoroark set up, took a knockout himself, and I went back to just, it's at this point where in the mirror that you're kind of just slugging each other back and forth a little bit. I think I might have tried to Guzma a Zora, but couldn't, so I just hit for 100 or so. And this is where the first problem came up, because he was down in the prize race, he uses Sudowoodo. He kind of got out of nowhere, dropped it on me with counter energy, and took a knockout on one of my Zoroarks. But I responded like, okay, I can knock this thing out with my Golisopod. So I put up Golisopod, and I knocked out with Armor Press. And the game went on for a little bit, and it's looking good. Like, prizes were about tied up, but I had a parallel that was sticking as I expected. And out of nowhere, the judges stopped the game. And they tell me that because I had that Parallel City out, Armor Press only did 80 damage, and it wasn't a knockout on the Sudowoodo. And I was, first off, this was all being explained to me in Portuguese. We'll talk about that a little bit more about me playing in Brazil, but I had to get them to repeat it all to me in English. And even after that, I didn't understand what was wrong until 3 hours after the tournament. Because I just did not understand why I did not get a knockout. But they're like, yeah, you didn't get a knockout, dude. Sorry. And because it'd been 3 turns, game state was really broken. They gave me a multi-prize loss for that. And Claudio only having 3 prizes, I'm gonna take all 3 prizes. Mm-hmm. And we're done with game 1. So the mistake I made there finally after realizing is I thought Sudowoodo had Grass Weakness. So I think on the stream a lot of people assumed I didn't factor in the Parallel City damage. But matter of fact is I just didn't really think about, I thought it had weakness, so I was like, okay, Armor Press is going to kill it no matter what. I'm doing double damage. Mm-hmm. Because if I had known that, I could have just used First Impression and gotten the knockout because I promoted it to attack. But with that being said, that's how I lost my first game. It's kind of put me in a little bit of a bad mood. I think I was handling it pretty well. You can see the video. I was laughing and stuff. I was keeping my spirits up. But I knew okay, I lost game 1 after about 20 minutes, and we have 60 minutes total to play, so I'd kind of hurried up a little bit. I played my turn 1 really fast, and my opponent just attached a DC to his Tapu Koko and flying flipped. That's all he had. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to try and dunk this Tapu Koko, and again, with the time, I'm like, I just need to go for this, because I feel like if I don't get this, I'm not going to have enough time to win 2 games. So I dropped my whole hand. I Ultra Balled away 2 puzzles to grab a Zoroark, to Ultra Ball another 2 to grab my Lele for a Sycamore. And I burned through my whole hand and benched one more thing and got the knockout for the Donkin. So far, finals have been riveting. Yeah, finals have been riveting. 25 minutes, I got a game loss. He got dunked. Mm-hmm. And we're off game 3. And despite the prize loss, dunk to even the score up actually made me feel a lot better. I'm like, okay, I made my mistake. I got really lucky with the dunk. I can redeem myself. Unfortunately, I didn't redeem myself. Because after that, that's when that start where he went first, got his Zoras out. I went second, got my Zoras out, and we kind of started the usual war of attrition here. I think that Zoropod's a really grindy game, and I'm happy we had 30 minutes. I was going to comment on this earlier, but I think a big thing to the mirror is winning game 1, and that's why I figured Claudio's in good shape, because typically it takes you about 30 to 35 minutes to win a Zoropod mirror that's fully played out. So 2 of my 3 mirror wins, I won in game 1, and just game 2 just didn't finish. And I just kind of played to that out. I'm like, okay, my opponent's kind of doing some strong stuff here, but I know if I just keep using Acerola, game 2's not going to finish. And that was kind of what was going on here. And we were playing our usual game. I think he got up ahead for a second because that same thing happened where I focused on killing Zoras and Wimpods and stuff because I'm a little worried to just kind of hit random stuff and get Acerola or Max Potioned. So I did that. I think I was at I think I was actually still at 5 prizes and he was at 4. It was still a little early in the game. Because I was down a prize, I'm like, okay, I literally have the perfect opportunity to use Sudowoodo here. So I play a few trades. I found my counter energy, and I put it up, and I very hastily, still moving a little fast, is like watch and learn, knockout, and I grabbed my 2 prizes. And he moved with for a second. The judge was like, "That wasn't a knockout, dude." So we were back to the same problem, and this time they caught it right away. But because I had taken the knockout and grabbed my prize cards a second time, it's an escalated penalty. So even though it normally starts at prize card, this time it escalated to a multi-prize loss for me doing it again. And this put Claudio down to 1 prize. So not feeling too great. He has Zoroark 200 damage. He wasn't able to knock out the Sudowoodo somehow. So I'm like, I guess I'm going to play this 5-1 somehow. And I really couldn't. I Guzman up his Wimpod and started spreading a Tapu Koko to clean up the Zoroark and hoping he would just deck out because he had 3 cards in deck. But he's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to deck out, dude. And we didn't win this finals, and it was not my proudest moment. I think in reflection, though, I'm a little bummed about really choking that hard. I mean, it was $1,000. It was 40 more championship points. Would have made it a lot easier for me to get to 400. But, I mean, those games just kind of happen. I'm happy it happened in finals versus, round 2. I'd rather I didn't do that on stream. Sure, I'll probably get a lot of weird little witch hunts or something in the future, but I don't know. It happened. I had a good run, and Claudio was a good player. And I think we're okay with what happened.
Yeah, I mean, second place, the way you got it, you're right, kind of sucks, but, at least you were there. So one of the big things, one of the more important things that I was really hoping to kind of get your mind about, because, there are a lot of players that travel for Pokemon, especially getting into, some of the different intercontinental championships. A lot of players traveled to London from the U.S. and to Australia. But not a lot of players travel for regionals. I don't know a lot of people that can say that they've played a regionals in a completely different region, not just necessarily I've been to Canada or something. It's a little different.
Canadians somehow, right?
well, they're at least speaking English.
So
that's just kind of one of the big things, is some of the difference playing in Brazil at a regionals versus what you've seen here in North America.
Yeah, no, I would say you're definitely right about that. I think the only 2 Latin American players that travel outside of country a lot are Pablo Meza and Gustavo Wada, but they both speak really good English from what I know, so I'm sure it doesn't hurt them too much. As for me, I'm studying Portuguese in college right now. For those of you that don't know, I've taken 3 semesters of Portuguese, and I'm on a study abroad trip down here for a semester. I'm still learning more Portuguese. I'm still improving a lot. So definitely running into a room where it's not guaranteed that people I sit across from will speak English is a little daunting. That being said, I was able to conduct the majority of the tournament in Portuguese, and I was really proud of myself for that. I'm not going to act like it was the hardest task on earth, but it was definitely something I was happy to have been able to do. I think a lot of players thought it was cool that I was able to keep up with them and do fine. I think some of the difference about playing in there is definitely when you have a language barrier to any extent, and I know players who compete in Worlds and Internationals might be aware of this already, you have to use a lot more body language and hand gestures to get things done. You'll a lot of people point to the things they're going to, or gesture to this, or when they're attacking, they'll point to this point to this attack. And with Glisspot, I definitely had to do that because I could be using 3 attacks in a turn.
Sure.
And I think before this I never really gestured it so strongly, but I pointed to the Zoroark I was trading with as I was doing it, and pointing. And I remember one time I was using Wonder Tag to grab an N, but I wasn't playing it, and the guy's about to put his hand, and I'd go no, not playing it. So definitely the hand gesture is a big thing. One thing that's a little bit of a saving grace for anyone who's wondering about who speaks English, wants to play in our country, or think it might happen, or just daydreaming. Fortunately, a lot of English vocabulary is well understood. So things like deck, hand, shuffle, prize cards are actually seem to be pretty well understood by Latino players, and from my understanding, will be understood by most people around the world, just because I think a lot of people track U.S. results, so knowing these words that are pretty common is just something they pick up, because when you study people from another language, you kind of pick up common words, just how Americans know stuff like adios, bienvenidos, all that kind of stuff.
A lot of it is easier in context as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you can point to a prize and say prize cards, and they'll figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, I think in terms of other differences, I think maybe this is more like a culture thing, but I think Brazilians just seem to be very friendly. You know, I think there's still a little bit of a competitive atmosphere there, and like I definitely had the salty opponent or two, but that's gonna happen no matter where I go in the world.
Right.
But in general, I felt like people are very friendly, very supportive. People thought it was really cool to have an American here. I got a lot of people call me the Americano or the Gringo, which I don't really get hurt about. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really need to know. I think another cool thing was getting to play with Portuguese cards. I'm allowed to have like I'm allowed to use English or Portuguese cards in Brazil, which is just the general rule. And I think a lot of people have a mix of it because they want the English cards because they have more value and can be resold, especially because they don't play expanded. Holding on to those English cards let them resell to Americans for a high price. Whereas Portuguese cards, once they rotate, are just dead weight.
Right.
But yeah, I've actually got my deck right here on. I don't know how well it'll capture on the camera, but like I think in this deck that I played, I had like I shuffled my deck on accident. I had a Portuguese Sudowoodo. Maybe I'll blame the Portuguese for why I didn't know what he did. You can't really see it very well, but yeah,
I could tell. So
yeah. So I had Cynthia. I think my Evo sodas were also in Portuguese because I had my roommate loaned me a few cards for the tournament as well, and I had anything from Ultra Prismon I have to buy here, which will be in Portuguese, which sucks a little bit because I'm gonna have to rebuy it once I come back to America to start playing again. But it's fine. I think another thing is prices are a little different. Products have a little bit of trouble coming down to Brazil sometimes. Like Lucario GX just came out recently. A lot of people are having trouble getting their hands on that because there's kind of a it's not an embargo, but like when things get ordered internationally, it takes like an extended time with customs to allow it through because Brazil's weird like that.
Right.
So,
yeah. And we've known about some of that. We've talked about some those kind of things on the podcast before with some of the different like problems with that. So
yeah, and that has like a weird effect on people's meta. Like for people going to Latin America, you might want to consider that Brazilians might have trouble getting their hands on Lucario unless they have an American that brings the cards to them at the international, or some people being asked if I'm able to get shipped without having to deal with Brazilian customs myself.
Right.
And then this also makes promos that are easily accessible very popular. That's why Volcanion and Tapu Bulu are actually very popular, just because they're very easy to get their hands on.
Right.
Whereas some stuff like Lucario might not be as readily accessible. And then also prices affect other things. Like I think Lele down here costs people like $60-$70 a copy. And
Whoa.
Cynthia's like $7. I had to really drop change for that. It was cheaper for me to buy a theme deck, I think. I don't know how that even happened, but yeah, it was cheaper to buy a theme deck than buy two Cynthia.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I picked up a playset Glaceon, 3 of them for like $60. Like prices are absurd down here sometimes. And I know it's that new set hype also, but there's definitely a bit of like an inflation when you get down here.
Sure. So.
But no, overall it's been very fun. I think Brazilians are very like friendly people as a generic of their culture. I've had a lot of fun down here. I think it's really fun to be able to do Portuguese stuff down here. It's helping my language a little bit too, because I'm learning the more Portuguese cards I have, the more vocabulary I learn just by reading the cards.
Right.
So I'm really happy that I'm augmenting my experience down here with Pokemon.
Awesome, and that's super awesome. So I guess with that, I just want to say congratulations again on getting second at Salvador Regionals.
Thank you.
Regionals anywhere, getting second place, pretty good accomplishment. Getting paid never hurts either. And those championship points definitely help. So,
Yeah.
I guess at this point, Brett, what I'll give you is a little bit of time, a minute or so. If you've got any like plugs or shout outs or whatever else you want to give out, I'll give you that time now so you can go ahead.
Well, normally there's when I shout out Dead Draw Gaming, but I guess we're already here. But yeah, definitely shout out to Team Dead Draw Gaming. I think being on the team has given me access to more good players to discuss with. It's nice to just be part of the group. It's a very friendly team, and yeah, Dead Draw Gaming is definitely a good store to hit up too.
Like us on Facebook.
Yeah, a like on Facebook would be great. Twitter also. Let's see. In terms of other plugs, I think my first one is definitely my hotel mates down here in Brazil that helped me out a lot. I showed up with rooming with Diego Hatschi and Junio something. I can't really remember his name too well, his last name. But yeah, those two were really awesome. I showed up with them Thursday night, and they started helping me test right away. Diego was a really great player. He got second at Belo Horizonte Regionals with Gardevoir, so I knew he knew his stuff, and he actually gave me a lot of advice for playing Zoropod correctly. And he's the one who really helped me test the Buzzrock matchup, which I think was just a good matchup to get some familiarity with. And then we also had some other people from the town that had other owners come over. We had Ponce, who also got second at regionals. We're really good at getting second in this town.
Yeah.
And then Andre was a great person to test with, too. He was dead set on playing Greninja, which I don't know how well that worked out for him, but since he was already set on that and knew what to do with it, he helped me by just picking up random decks to test with, because he wasn't really going to test Greninja against all of us. He's a better person than that.
Well, good. So.
But yeah, so they really helped. I think the DDG team helped me a little bit. I realized none of you guys knew that I was actually playing at regionals the same day as Costa Mesa. So I just dropped my deck list quick, got a little bit more advice, talked about the card choices. So I appreciate that. I guess I owe a shout out to Igor for the Sudowoodo idea, if he's watching. Let's see, in terms of anything else shout out to, I think I would want to just give a shout out to my friends in general. Side story is my phone. I left my charger at somebody's house in the same town, and then went to my hotel, so I didn't have access to my charger the night before the tournament, so my phone was dead the entire day. And when I finally got back on, I saw that like everyone was giving me a lot of love. Like, I was able to get access to a computer and just drop record updates on Facebook, and I just had a lot of friends give me a lot of love and support, and that honestly helped elate me a lot and definitely put me in good spirits for top 8. So shout out to all my friends. Shout out to my girlfriend. She's been really supportive of Pokemon for me. It's great to have a significant other that loves what you do. So she's been great too. And yeah, finally, I guess if anybody wants to hit me up for advice, as long as you don't flood me, I don't mind giving help here or there. You guys know who you are if you flood me too much. But no, and then also just follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to build my Twitter. I'm almost at 75 followers now. I think that I finally got myself a little bit of attention. I'm trying to hit 100 at least. It's my fault for abandoning my old Twitter that had 160 followers. But yeah, follow me at Brett Stratton 4, and you'll be able to see me just tweet about random Pokemon stuff. I pretty much use that Twitter only for complaining about random stuff that's going on during testing and random thoughts I have about Pokemon. So check me out.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for stopping by, taking time out of your day to sit down and talk with me. I do appreciate that a lot. You guys, make sure you check out the description down below. That's going to have lots of good information for all of you, including the post where you can see Brett's complete list of the deck that he played, along with just some other good information. And then for the podcast listeners, this interview standalone is also going to be on YouTube, so make sure to go to YouTube, check it out. Listen to it there. Brett, again, thank you, and congratulations.
Yeah, not a problem, man. It's been great. Like you said, you'll have my term report coming out, and I think it'll be out in time for this video. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. All right, thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, so again, I just want to say thank you to Brett. Brett, again, super good job. Thanks for sitting down and talking with me. A lot of good info there, and some cool insight onto what it's like playing a regionals in a different country. One where, especially where, like, Brett was lucky because he didn't have a lot of language barriers because he does actually know Portuguese. But still, pretty cool to listen to him talk about just some of the differences there. So, but with that, then I guess we can get into some Costa Mesa talk, huh?
Oh boy, absolutely.
Because Team DDG showed up.
That's right. First of all, I want to talk about how we had 2 team members bubble and then unbubble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how crazy is that? That doesn't happen.
It's pretty awesome, I think. Like, I mean, there's a lot of mixed feelings about people getting moved up like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what Darrin's referring to, at least, I guess, I don't know who else unbubbled, but
Well, Chris Kemp,
yeah,
our
no,
AMP
Chris
squad,
is the one I was thinking of. So
he was
Chris
33rd, and he moved up to... Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, what I was just going to say is Chris Kemp was at 33rd, but then got bumped to 32nd after someone who had made day 2 was unable to play. That left 31 players on day 2. Chris moved into 32nd spot, didn't get to play day 2, didn't get paid, but did get the extra points.
Yeah, Joe also was 9th when top 8 came out.
That's what it was. But that's because of what it was just an error, right? And someone input matches wrong. So after they put him in correctly, resistances changed, which put Joey at 8th.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I wasn't thinking of that as an unbubble. My mistake.
Yeah. For the 10 or 15 minutes there when we saw the very first top 8, he was at 9th, and I'm like, oh man, we got a double bubble. and then, actually, we had 2 members in top 8 all of a sudden.
Yeah, so not only did Joey Rudiger make it, but so did Caleb Gedimer. And I think with both of these two, especially, Joey recently, top 8 is kind of what we've come to expect from him. He's killing it. He's doing so well. And that definitely, I think that moved him into, I think he was in 5th. I don't know if he got into 4th now for top 16 for North American rankings, but it's pretty nuts. And I think Caleb moved up a couple of spots now after dropping a few. Still 3 players in top 16. Frank probably dropped a little bit. But I don't think he's obviously still there. But super cool. Unfortunately, both Caleb and Joey weren't able to move past top 8. We'll talk about that in a minute, how everything kind of shook up. And then another cool thing is one of our AM team members, Carl Kitchen, also got his invite this weekend.
Heck yeah. All right, so I have the US Canadian Championship points for 2018 pulled up here, and it says Joey is at 6th, Frank is at 7th, and Caleb is down at 14th with 700 points.
Yeah, so that definitely does not have Costa Mesa in there yet.
All right, yeah, I didn't think so.
So once those all get added in, I don't remember the exact placing on everyone who is there, but anyways, as far as the tournament went, Igor Costa ended up taking it, his 2nd regional win this year, and he did it without playing Zoroark.
I think he was the only one in Costa Mesa who didn't play Zoroark.
That's actually close.
Yeah. When I was looking at the great thing about Arcanine Labs is that they put a list of, they're able to compile data of all the decks that are played, and just going over, the variants that were all played throughout the weekend, trying to count up the amount of Zoroark variants for decks that at least had Zoroark as an option, whether it be for attacking purposes or for ability purposes. I mean, it's got to be close to 2/3 of the field. It's insane.
Yes, that is nuts. But top 8 looks like 5 of the 8 decks didn't have Zoroark in it. Igor, Alexander, Eli, Azul. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 of the top 8 didn't have Zoroark. That's pretty crazy. I just pulled up all the lists.
I guess they would have built their list to kind of find stuff to help counter Zoroark pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is nice.
But like you said, the rest of top 32, pretty jam-packed, full of Zoroark. And I'm sure the entire tournament, every round, pretty much was Zoroark.
So I think one other kind of interesting thing about this top 8 is there was 2 different same 60s in this top 8. Igor and Azul played the same 60, and Caleb and Joey played the same 60. So that's pretty interesting.
Caleb and Joey did have different Zeruas.
Ooh.
Because Joey didn't have the paralyzing gaze ones.
Oh. Close enough.
Close enough. Very close to the same 60, yeah. Did we say what Igor won with?
Yeah, so Igor, I don't think so, but Igor won playing Drampa Garb.
Yes.
So it's interesting because we talk about this every season. granted, we've only been doing this for 2 seasons, but it's funny how you always have decks that kind of come back around. Everything goes full circle. So like Drampa Garb, Espeon Garb was such a big thing, after Burning Shadows came out. Guardians Rising came out, whatever it was that Garbodor came out in.
Right.
Guardians.
Okay, Guardians Rising came out. It was such a big thing, and then tailed off. And now here it is, winning the regionals again.
And I think the crazier thing is like expanded, because so many different things in expanded make Zoroark like much better than it even is in standard. So it's just kind of nuts that, I mean, like, and there was 2 Drampagarbs in top 8, so kind of crazy. It's refreshing that Zoroark didn't win. This is the first regional since Zoroark has been a thing. Since it was printed, this is the first regional that Zoroark did not win.
Wow, that's kind of big then. That's huge.
Yeah, if that doesn't scream like, hey, there's a problem.
I think it's just its ability to utilize cards in the format that make it so much stronger. Like, I think in expanded, the more pressing issue would be something like propagation or execute.
Mm-hmm.
Because that just gives you the ability to kind of just recycle trades over and over again and draw through your entire deck, which makes Zoroark and expanded even more broken than standard, because you can propagate and then trade and then propagate and then you can trade and then you can Skyfield and you can load up your bench for 8 Pokemon, and then you can choice band, and then you're hitting for 190 without breaking a sweat.
210 if you have 8 out.
210.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because 9 including Zoroark.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
But, I mean, yeah, still, either way, you literally you execute makes it so you don't have to throw a card that you need later. I mean, there were some lists that were playing like 4 of them, which I think is crazy. Another crazy thing, what I thought was super cool, is one of the decks that Finn Lynch actually played, and I know a couple of other people played it also. I'm not certain of who did off the top of my head, but he actually played a Plasma Freeze Executor, or whatever set
Yes,
that one
he
came
did.
in. Whatever
Yep.
Plasma set that one came in.
It was Freeze.
Yeah, Plasma Freeze. Okay, I was right, but Blockade is back. So I just remember that was was it 2015 Madison?
I don't remember.
Maybe even 2016. It was a Madison Regionals where everyone was all crazy about Executory Expanded is so good.
That was States when Jason Klaczynski was playing it at what was it? Toronto? Whatever the Canada states were, played it, and then he played it. They played it also in Wisconsin Janesville that year, I think it was. Or maybe it was the year before that, but it was state tournaments that it became really big.
Right. I just remember there being a regional where everyone played it.
Well, I mean, you run a Blockade Executor, and back in my day, in the olden days, where you had to play a supporter to draw cards, because Shaman wasn't printed yet, and because you couldn't trade, so your only way was Jirachi for a Sycamore, or Jirachi for a Juniper, and play Juniper, or just play N or Juniper. But if, hey, here's Blockade, you can't play any supporters, you can't draw anything. You don't have any draw power anymore. So you're in trouble. And then you combine that with Burbank City Gym, Hypnotoxic Laser, and all of a sudden you're hitting for 40 every turn, plus a muscle band, and there were times where you would have a silver bangle. So 60 with a muscle band basically every turn.
Yeah, it's pretty toxic. I mean, people were actually using a card called Roller Skates, which to our new players is not a good card.
But the donk rates in those games, I bet you were insane, because if you're going up in a mirror match, and here you are starting a Propagate Execute with 30 HP, you better have something on your bench, or you're in a lot of trouble.
Bonk. Yeah.
Laser, Burbank.
That's why it's so great. Remember, so I wasn't around, but watching old YouTube videos of past world championships where you work so hard to get to the world championship stage, and then it's best of 1 through Swiss. So it's like, and you can attack on your first turn. So if you could power up, like there would be people who would power up their Darkrai, with 2 dark patches and a manual attachment, and then you're hitting a Night Spear for 90 on your first turn. Like, okay, I remember watching one year where Top Cut was streaming was streaming the World Championships where they had 3 rounds, like 3, 4, and 5, where each round was done in less than 7 or 8 minutes because it was just donk after donk after donk. It's insane. Crazy. But back to this actual tournament. One thing I did want to say, because we were talking before about how big of a role Joey's been on. So this is the 3rd tournament in a row. So Joey went to internationals and took 2nd there, lost to Tord, and then went to Collinsville. Made top 8 at Collinsville, and now we just had Costa Mesa. He made top 8 at Costa Mesa. So, yeah, like Dan said, we expect him to make top 8 next weekend in Charlotte.
Yeah, I expect him to at what point do you just get a free pass to top 8? Like, how many in a row do you have to get? And then they're like, you know what, you did it. Here you
should probably ask Sam Chen. He might know.
Yeah, I suppose. So one thing, I do want to go over another two, at least one more deck in top 8, and that's Alex Hill's deck.
Yeah,
he played Glaceon, but he also played Barbaracle.
Yeah, I had to look it up.
When I first saw this, I was like, "What does this even do?"
What does Barbaracle do? Stops like attacks from special energy Pokemon or something?
So
stops
it has
damage.
Has an ability called Hand Block. If you have a stadium card in play, your opponent can't attach any special energy cards from his or her hand to his or her Pokemon. That's
So they did that for 2 reasons. One being Zoroark.
Absolutely.
And one being insert fighting Pokemon here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be Landorus or Buzzwole or Lycanroc or whatever the case may be.
But not only that, like even attaching to Lele. So one of the plays for beating Glaceon is just attach to Lele because you 1-shot or you 2-shot with just a DCE. Now you got to get the DCE on, and then you got to make sure it stays for a turn because there is a Flare Grunt and 4 Enhanced Hammer in this list. So
holy smokes!
Well, and 4 Rough Seas. It's pretty. This list is super cool to look at. But I mean, do you think like I don't do this, but I mean, you got to wonder like, hey, a card comes out. Hey, something is good. Let me read through every bulk card that's ever been printed.
I think that's what Rukan does.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Like, and see, like, what kind of broken thing can I build today?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of nuts. I can't imagine that a lot of people were like, Barbaracle.
Yeah. This is definitely my favorite list in top 8.
There's so much talk about Glaceon coming into Expanded and everybody going against it at the end of it because they're like, oh, it's just not good.
There was only 2 in day 2. The other one was played by Chris Szymanski, who actually played the same list that Alex did.
Yeah, it's all the 6 prizes, guys.
One other thing.
Hold on, wait. Darren was going to say something.
Oh, sorry.
I was only going to say that I also really, really liked the Gyarados Gallade lists.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
And the Aerodactyl Gallade. I was going to just quickly say the other top 32 lists that I really liked.
Yeah, but the Aerodactyl Gallade list, this list that Drew Kinnick got at 16th with. I played this on stream a little bit last night. I made one little change. I dropped one of the 3 Gallades for a Tapu Lele, and the only reason I did that is because I only have 2 Gallades online. But this deck is nuts. It is absolutely nuts. It is bonkers. Like having 3 Orangaroos out, stupid. But like the problem is your attackers that you have inside the deck. Like, you have to play a supporter or an item to even get them into the field. So it's not the easiest thing to pilot. And Drew able to take this all the way to top 16. What a monster. Like, congrats to him for it, because it's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah, I think he finished day 1 as the 2nd seed.
Yeah, I think 702 going into day 2. So, but a top 16 with a list like that, what crazy.
I think he wrote an article on someone's PC right before, like either
He
the week
did.
before. Yeah, going over
He
his
did.
list.
And good for him on writing what you were going to play and then playing it. So
Caleb played with his list on our YouTube channel before he played it.
Yeah,
He
not only
did.
can you see the list, but you can watch him play it.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny, I'm sure you saw this, but there was one Primal Groudon in day 2.
Yeah, Joe Sanchez, the guy who
Mhm.
always plays Groudon, made day 2. And there was, I was talking to him a little bit, and he said that there was a couple stuff from his list that he would change, but he knows that he wasn't going to win with Primal Groudon. The thing I did want to bring up, going back to Alex Hill, is he started out 6-0, and then lost to Caleb.
Got him.
So that's where Caleb took the 1 seed back, and then Caleb went into day 2 as the 1 seed. He started out 8-0-1, won in day 2, and ended up dropping his first 3 rounds, I think.
Yep, he was 8-3-1 after.
Yeah, he had to win. He had to win his last 2 rounds to make top 8.
But I mean, that's that exact reason is why you don't ID into day 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if you've never done it and you're like, you know what, I just want to play in day 2, great, do it. But as someone like Caleb who's chasing top 16, that is the exact reason you play all 9 rounds. It's because most people, gosh, I don't think anyone that wasn't in the top 5 like seeds after day 1 could have lost 3 rounds and made it. I think Caleb's the only one.
Yeah, and actually the last round, the top 4 tables all played their last round instead of IDing.
Yeah,
and
then,
that's crazy.
And then like tables 5 through 9 were IDing. Like,
yep, Joey. Way
yeah,
to go,
they were just
Joey.
like, yeah, let's just get top 16. You know,
they just want to make it into day 2 and have a fighting chance, which isn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I mean, it was an interesting tournament to watch. It was great to see some different decks that were being piloted. You know, we talk about this all the time as far as expanded tournaments go and how nice it is to see, this plethora of different decks. And I think that was showcased in Costa Mesa over the weekend. From what I heard, the event ran extremely well. The stream was on point as far as when it started, when it ended. For the tournament, the stream was done again by Critical Hit TCG, and I am learning a lot by watching them stream, and that's all I will say regarding that matter.
I want to jump in and give some credit where credit is due. They have made a lot of improvements over the past few events that they've streamed. Mm-hmm. I noticed that the camera was steady. The screen, just their layout is much nicer. Better emphasis on things that matter. And of course, there are things that they can improve, but I just wanted to say it was better. You
learn as you go, and I think that they took feedback from the people who are watching, and they definitely made improvements over a 2-week span since Collinsville.
Mm-hmm. So good on them for moving forward and doing what they do. I'm glad that there was a stream.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Well, the next event we have is next weekend. We have Charlotte. That is standard. So we will talk more about that next week. I would assume it's going to be a lot of Zoroark Golisopod.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Cameron is doing a whole load of standard deep dives in preparation for Charlotte. So keep your ears open, listeners.
One of them actually came out already, correct?
That's right. Noel's list for Lucario Garchomp is up, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. What'd you think of it, Dan?
So Noel is a pro, and I am not. I am not Garchomp's biggest supporter.
Okay.
But it was definitely like I'm a bigger supporter of it after listening to it than I was before. Noel definitely drops a lot of knowledge, and he's a smart guy. He's an amazing player. There's no doubting that. And I think if anyone is gonna, show up to any tournament and say Garchomp's winning this thing, it's gonna be him. So
I think another thing to keep in mind that's really important is that you can only bring one deck to a tournament, and so it's good to listen to what people have to say about other decks too, because then you get an idea of what you're playing against. So,
well, I think that's really important. You know, I think too many people are focused on, okay, how do I play this matchup? Well, one of the best ways to learn how to play a matchup is to play the other side of the board.
That's right. Exactly right.
So before we get too far out of things, though, we did also have a regional in Brazil this last weekend in Salvador. So I just want to talk about it real quick. We actually only had 3 Zoroarks. Now, this one was standard, so it's a little bit different, but we only had 3 Zoroarks in this one, which I thought was kind of cool. But we did have 5 Buzzwoles. So every top 8 deck was playing one of those 2 cards. The eventual winner, Claudio Furla, was playing Zoroark Glycopod. The finalist, Brett Stratton, which you guys heard us talk to a little bit earlier, was playing Zoroark Glycopod. And Brett actually, he went into pretty good detail on all 3 of his matchups, as you guys heard, so I won't get too far into it now. And then he's also writing an article about not only the list, but matchups and how to play them and his experiences in Salvador. So be on the lookout for that coming soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read that. That's going to be awesome.
So it was a smaller regionals. Now, that's how most of them are in LA, but that one, 140 masters. But I just wanted to talk about that real quick and just kind of mention some of the things before getting too far into our next topic.
Awesome.
Danny, you got anything to say about Salvador?
No, I don't think so. There were some interesting calls in Salvador, it seemed, and as well in Costa Mesa. I think there was a player who actually made top 8 and then got DQ'd from top 8. And I think that brought us into our next category a little bit, where we want to talk about judges, because there were different issues. There was an issue on stream of Costa Mesa where a card was played, Tapu Lele was played under Garbotoxin. And to me, it's clear that this was done completely accidental. But it wasn't caught, until somebody goes back and watches the rewind. And if you've got eyes all the time via either a stream or a judge who's watching the stream match, why is this getting missed? And I think there's mixed emotions going throughout the entire community as far as what judges are responsible for, because in my mind, it's really no different than like a referee of a game or a referee of, let's say a football game. If I'm watching the Super Bowl and there's a blatant holding call that gets missed, I get pretty upset with the referee, and I think that's something that they need to be responsible for. So I think that kind of brought up this topic that Dan chose as far as what are judges responsible for. And I think Darren's probably the best one to ask about this kind of stuff.
So one thing that I was kind of thinking is, like, I would like to give my thoughts on the matter. Me or Danny, neither of us have been judges before. We're not professors. We don't know all of, some of the things that go on as a judge is walking around and watching the tables. I've only seen it from the player side of things. Darrin has been on both sides of things, so he has a lot more insight than what we do. For me, so the rule is what? For every 30 players, or every 30 is it every 30 tables or every 30 players where you want to have one judge for regionals? I think it's every 30 players.
I believe
for every
players.
30 players, there's one judge. Now, I understand that judges are walking around, and their job is not necessarily to focus on the games and what's happening in those games, to make sure that the players are doing things correctly. Their job is more, at least from what I can tell, there's not a lot of judges that do that. Now, I will call out one judge instance in particular that I actually watched happen in Collinsville because it was right next to me. But Will Beers, great human, by the way. But he walked up to the table next to me after a Zoroark attacked into a Giratina promo. Both players missed weakness. Will asked about it and corrected it without either of the players calling a judge. So I really think that was cool because I don't think a lot of judges do that. Or at least if they do, it's not something that I've seen. Most judges walk around and wait for someone's hand to go up. And now maybe I just missed it because I don't call a judge for really anything. Because I've not been in enough instances where one's been like really required. Normally when I've had judges called against me, it's been for rulings on, what should happen and not necessarily for gameplay errors. But like, as far as floor judges are concerned, sure, I get it. But one thing like table judges, like you have a table judges literally watching every single game of top 8, and then a judge for each match of top 4, and then 2 judges normally watching the finals. I think there was only one judge watching the finals at Costa Mesa, but one thing I want to mention about Igor's play against Alex is Igor not only had Guzma in hand, so he didn't need to Lele to get the win, but the second that Igor benched Lele before he even picked up his deck, Alex started scooping up his cards. So the second that Alex starts scooping up his cards, regardless of whether or not Igor picks up his deck, Alex loses. So both players missed it, that there was Garbotoxin up, and the judge. But as a player, what's the point of a table judge? Why is that table judge there? I don't understand. Is he just making sure, is he just checking a box, supporter, energy, ability, attack, next turn, supporter, ability, energy, attack? If he's not there, kind of following the thing like the players should. Now, I understand that players really should be reporting self violations. And I think I was reading through a thread. I think it was on Hey Fonty or Verbank. I don't remember exactly which one. But there was a comment on there saying that TCG judges should be, or TCG shouldn't be looked at, like Danny explained, as a football game, but more as golf, where players should be reporting self violations, and the game should be kind of upheld by the players, and the board state is something that both players are responsible for. So I guess, what are judges responsible for, that kind of being the topic, that's where I want Darrin's opinion on a lot of things, because maybe it's just something that's misconstrued throughout the community. Players think judges should do one thing, judges think judges should do another. And we see kind of the same arguments over and over and over when these kinds of things happen. So I guess I'm just kind of hoping we can shed some light on what is the actual responsibility and why are players so upset that these things are continually happening.
Okay. Well, the thing about this debate is that it's been strong in the past, and people on both sides are fairly dug in and pretty adamant. On one side, you have players that are saying, what are judges even doing? Why can't they catch these errors? And, why can't we have competent judges, right? On the other side is judges are doing their best. It's a thankless job. They are often unpaid or paid not much. And, everyone getting down on these people really should be down on the players for making these mistakes in the first place, because it's players that are breaking the rules. And it's those players' opponents that also should be catching it, because that's part of the game as well. So both sides honestly have merit. And I'm telling you straight up, as a judge, I've missed a lot of things. I've made wrong calls, but I've also caught things and corrected things on my own. And if I had to pick a side, I suppose that I am more on the forgive the judges side of things. Like Danny's argument that a referee should be blamed for missing a holding call is 100% accurate. As many football watchers know, holding happens on just about every play of the game, somewhere on the field. And judges have to have some discretion on when to call it, when it's bad enough to call. And of course, fans of one side or another are going to lean one way or the other, and that actually applies to Pokemon as well. So when a judge misses, is just walking up and down the aisles and doesn't see someone playing their second supporter, even though they're standing right there, I mean, it's hard to blame them, and it's actually great when they do catch that and they can do something about it. But it's not the norm, and it really can't be, because to be completely fair, especially in larger tournaments, there just is a shortage of judges often. Like, it's hard to find people that want to do this job, and sometimes the people that do want to do it aren't always the most qualified. Within the past few years, Pokemon has actually lessened the amount of work, and they've lowered the bar for the professor test. I'm not saying that all professors nowadays are worse. I am just saying that it's easier to be a professor now than it used to be. And so potentially some of these judges aren't as qualified as they should be. But, I don't know. It's tough to hold someone accountable for something that the players should be first and foremost accountable for. Now, when we start talking...
I agree. Sorry, I agree with what you're saying completely. My analogy is more like as far as it associates directly with the streaming table.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a judge who's just watching one match, like I've seen streams before where judges are just, they're on their cell phone or they're not even paying attention at all, and there's gameplay errors happening during the during the match. And there's something that, I understand that occasionally a player may miss it because they're caught up in the moment, but if you're judging, you like, that's what you're kind of trained to look out for. Like, if you're focusing on just one thing, one match at a time, like, then I'm kind of holding you just as liable as both players for making sure that everything gets caught.
And I can actually completely agree. If, as a judge, your entire span of attention is focused on a single game, it needs to be there. And, personally, I haven't had to do it yet, and I think I would be scared out of my mind if someone walked up to me and said, Darrin, you're a judge, you're going to be our table judge today. You're going to sit there and watch every stream match, and if you even make a single mistake, you are going to be on blast for the next 6 days.
So I think one thing that we got to remember here is the first Swiss rounds are definitely different. And the reason the Swiss rounds are different is because when like I said earlier, when you get into top 8, you have table judges sitting there watching your game and your game only, focusing on your game only. Where, like, at the stream, during Swiss, you don't have that in your other rounds unless you're being streamed. And the reason that is like that is because, like, as at the stream, that's typically curtained off somewhere. The tables are somewhere, so you can have the lights and the mics and whatever else you need, instead of just out in the open with a camera, where you could just raise your hand like you were sitting at a regular table. So, one judge sitting there all day watching that kind of thing, or, maybe they switch them out. I honestly don't know. I'm not a PTO that runs regional, so I have no idea. But it's kind of interesting, to have that differently throughout your Swiss rounds at a stream table. But I think I would honestly be scared too. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot going on in Pokemon. But if I have a pen and a piece of paper in front of me, being able to keep track of it all, like, you're expecting the players to keep track of everything that you've got going on, or everything that they've got going on. But at the same time, like, I can't imagine, and maybe I'm just, being a little ignorant about it because I just don't know, but I can't imagine that being too terribly difficult, I guess. Like, I don't understand it.
That's okay. Let me just finish with this. I want players to hold judges accountable. I really do. Keep the fire to our feet. Make sure that we do the best job we can, because in Costa Mesa here, there were more DQs in this tournament than any regional that I've heard of. These judges were on point. They were doing everything they could to uphold the spirit of the game and keep this game fair and competitive. So, these judges did an amazing job. Keep the fire to our feet as judges. Make sure that we always do our best. However, if you're going to call out judges, maybe you should think about giving it a shot yourself. Like, if you think you're going to do really well at it, we need your help. Like,
and you're absolutely right.
Take the professor test, give it a shot, see what it's like. And if you're good at it, awesome. We need you.
So that's the DQ thing. Most of those, I believe, were marked cards, whether it be accidental or purposefully. I think that is a great conversation for next week.
Hey, Darrin, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's with all the mid-game deck checks, like in the middle of a match?
That is a little weird, honestly. All I can think of is, a judge maybe saw a scuff, in between games. Like as the game's progressing, they see that there's a marked sleeve or something. So then they'll stop, and I think I saw one of Brett's opponents switch out some sleeves during a deck check mid-game.
Well, how difficult?
Deck checked in the middle of the finals.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, how difficult, especially in Swiss round when you don't have a judge sitting right next to you, it wouldn't be difficult to have two sleeves with the same card in it, one marked and one unmarked. Oh, let me put this marked sleeve into my pocket real quick and then put the rest of these cards into a deck box where the unmarked sleeve is at and hand it to the judge.
Well, here's the other way of doing it. It's you hand in your deck before the finals match to get checked. You get it back, and before you start your game, you just, thumbnail mark a couple of your cards.
Mm-hmm.
Judges can, it happens accidentally all the time. So I'm actually for deck checking mid-round if necessary, if, the table judge notices that there's some marked sleeves. So just get them switched out.
Any judge, because this has been happening in Swiss rounds too, where a judge will walk up to a game. Oh, you guys just finished the game? Give me your decks.
Good.
It's a great thing. They give the players time extension for how long it took, plus extra minutes.
Yeah, don't let players know when they're getting checked. Like, if you keep it...
No, absolutely. It has to be 100% random.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it random. Don't let people be able to anticipate when they're going to be checked. Perfect.
So, yeah. No, that's probably something we can go a little bit more in depth on. I feel like that's a really good conversation for next week is sleeves and checks and all that stuff. Because the last two tournaments, it's been pretty nuts. So
cool.
But with that, you guys, I think now is a great time to jump in to our weekly top 5.
Ooh.
I guess I'll start us out this week. My number 5 is Gym Leader Wolfric from the Snowbell Gym, the Calist region.
Neat. My number 5 is good old Brock.
Ooh.
I just like Brock. He's a funny guy in the anime. And, the first time I played through Red and Blue, he just was a cool dude. The first gym leader. And I always thought he was... I just thought he was awesome. Even though he was the weakest gym. I'm like, man, if he was the 8th gym leader, he would have the greatest Pokemon. Anyway.
I really wanted there to be I really wanted to use Lance. But he would have been my number 1. And I can't use them anyways. Nope. So my number 5 is Kaio. Am I saying that right? I think that was his name. He was from the Kanto. He was the martial arts guy. Kaio. In Saffron? Can I count him, or does it need to be a bad?
Oh! So... I totally... from like the gym dojo, right? Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. I didn't specify. Because that's where you can either get Hitmonlee or Hitmon. Okay, let's go.
Cool. That's awesome.
So anyways, my number 4 then is Elisa.
Nice. My number 4 is Giovanni.
My number 4 is Faulkner.
Faulkner is a cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3 is Bryson. And honestly, Bryson was just the regular gym leader for me until Pokemon Generations came out. And the episode is like episode 18 or whatever, when all of the gym leaders get together to fight Team Plasma. And Bryson's like, nah, I don't need Pokemon. And he just straight drop kicks the Team Plasma dude. It's amazing. One of the greatest things I've ever watched.
My number 3, shout out to trainer Sabrina.
My number 3 is Byron.
Byron from Canalave City.
Why is that his accent?
Byron.
No, I don't know. I just Steel type gyms are the best type gyms.
Yep.
And there's only 2 of them?
By far the best Sinnoh gym leader there is.
You trying to? Because that's wrong. Anyways, my number 2 is Giovanni.
Number 2 for me is Elisa.
Hey, look at us.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Drake.
Nice. So I think, do you guys want to guess what my number 1 is?
It's
I
Is
have
it,
no idea.
is it Jasmine?
it's Dan in the Mirror.
Dan in the Jasmine was pretty hard to not have on here because she does have Steelix. Jasmine probably would have been number 6 for me, but no, number 1, Crasher Wake. Crasher Wake,
baby.
best gym leader, hands down.
My number 1 was my childhood crush, as was many other a young boy's childhood crush, Misty.
My number 1 is Watson.
Oh,
Why do you say it like that? He's a nice old man.
I didn't know anybody liked Watson.
He's a nice old man. That's
Should do
cool.
like
No-
some roller coaster with him, and his name is Watson.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
cool.
to be fair, that's a pretty good name. He
Yeah.
does have a good name. It's very fitting. But I didn't know that people liked Watson.
I
That's
don't know
cool.
people like Crasher Wake.
That's wrong. You knew that. Everyone
I
likes
knew you
Crasher
did.
Wake.
Everyone?
Everyone.
He wasn't on mine or Darren's top 5.
It's true.
Well, something. Your opinions are wrong.
No, Watson's a super cool guy. The cheerfully electrifying man. That's his catchline here.
Cheerfully electrifying.
That's him.
All right. So I guess I'll send it over to Darrin then. Now that you guys got our top 5 gym leaders.
So we have no responses.
Alrighty. This podcast episode was long, anyways. We'll give people 2 weeks to answer it.
Yes.
So I wanted to know what everyone's one favorite Pokemon memory was.
Yeah, so let's just double up on that because we didn't get any responses, and that's a really good question that people should respond to.
Happy Pokemon Day number 2, everybody.
Yeah, we need to hear about your guys' Pokemon origin stories here. So one more week, email us, send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, whatever you gotta do. Let us know about how your favorite memory, or how you got started, or your best tournament finish, or your favorite deck, whatever you love about Pokemon. You tell us, and we might read it on next week's podcast.
Especially if it's about how much you love Crasher Wake being your favorite gym leader.
Or Watson, or Misty.
But mostly Crasher Wake.
Okay, all right. Let's move it on over to our next topic, which is the buying and the selling and the trading
Of the week.
of the week.
BSTOTW.
Oh yeah, darn it.
BSTOTW, buy sell trade of the week. We had a lot of stuff this week that I was investing in for us. So I bought quite a few Tapu Leles for $34 a piece. I got 6 of them total. And I've already sold most of them, actually, at $45.99. So it's a little bit of profit there. I actually went old school and got some Noble Victories full art ends in the
Oh,
mail. Those are such good-looking cards, despite dropping in price significantly. I remember buying them. I remember selling one last year at Madison Regionals that was probably moderately played for like $75. They were about $100.
No, it
then.
sold for more than that.
It might have been around that.
I'm pretty sure we sold that one for 90.
Okay, well,
I feel like that's around that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm trying to make us sound better.
The point that I'm making is it's not nearly as expensive as it once was. So
Right, correct.
they're about $55 to $60 right now is what they retail for. I was able to get 3 of them for $40 even. So I'm really excited about that. Those are actually already here. So
I cannot believe that price, Danny. Jeez.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? How much they've dropped?
$40 even, you mean like $40 each, right?
I do not.
You got 3 of them for $40 total.
I did, yes.
So you paid like $12.75 or whatever. $13 for them.
That's crazy.
Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty close to that, yes.
Were they in decent condition, or were they like...
No, they're all actually near mint.
Wow.
Like, I'm looking at them. Well, I'm not looking at them right now because I already listed them on the website and they're sitting over in my Nook. But yeah, they're all really, really good.
That's awesome.
Then I haven't gotten these yet, but these will come in tomorrow. I picked up some Octilleries, some Full Art Alolan Mucks, Pokemon Rangers, Shiny Volcanions, Shiny Rayquazas, Incubator Mewtwo's, Metagross GX Rainbows, Alolan Ninetales Rainbow, Incineroar Rainbow, Team Skullgrunt, Lapras GX, Tapu Fini Full Arts, a bunch of Necrozma GXs, and a bunch of other random, like, ultra rares as well. So I'm excited for all those to come in. I did try and get some tropical beaches, but the guy just was not willing to meet me at my price. So
Dang.
Unfortunately, those did not come to fruition. But I did buy quite a bit of stuff. We got our Lucario boxes in the mail, like I said, and those have already been sold. We actually have another shipment coming in early next week because I talked to distributors already today, and they told me that Lucario GX boxes were all sold out for distributors, and the price is reflective of it. So if you would have asked me a few days ago what the Lucario GX was pre-selling for, I would have told you about $6. If you ask me now, it's selling for about $9, which is actually pretty good considering the box is it's only like a $15.99, $16 box retail price.
Oh, that is pretty good.
So, yeah, having a $9 card in it. But the card itself is really good. I know our team is very excited about Lucario GX. I also got those shiny Darkrai GX boxes in. So a lot of those are all sold for the most part. So it was a really busy week as far as buying and selling goes. But I think I got some good stuff in to either hold for Madison or sell before Madison. Because this next week will be a lot slower because I'm going to be working a lot on selling a lot of stuff because we do have some expenses coming up for Madison as far as like the streaming goes and the team stage goes, because even though we're looking for sponsorships and advertising and things like that, we still have upfront costs that need to be made beforehand.
Yes.
So next week's section won't be quite as long.
This week's section is going to be a little bit longer because Darrin bought some more codes. Not as good as a deal as last week, but still a pretty good deal. I bought 130-ish codes for $30-ish. So I was happy with that. And then I was able to send a few of them out right away too, for some customer service. And the biggest thing, we sold some of our PSA cards on eBay. Dan?
Yeah, it's nice to see the difference in profit. Like getting some stuff graded is very beneficial.
Yes. Dan, did you see how much it sold for?
I did. I saw, and I was like, hype, because I think that probably paid the investment for all those cards.
Yeah.
And a little bit more, right? Yes. Crazy.
So just our PSA 10 Blaine's Charizard First Edition sold for $620 on eBay.
Yeah, that was a $90 purchase.
We take those?
Completely worth it. Shout out to Ludkins for helping us out there. Shout out to PSA for being cool dudes and giving us flawless 10 gradings. That's very nice of them.
Shout out to Danny for finding the card.
100%. 100% Danny. No, yeah, you're 100% right, man. Credit where credit's due. You found some gems.
Pun intended. Awesome. Well, with that, I think we can move into our open discussion.
I guess one thing I'll mention real quick then is just to stream. What I'm trying to do at this point to get back into things is stream every weekday except for Tuesday nights when we record. And we will be doing I'll be doing some more streaming with like the Team DDG members. One of those I know, and not only that, but maybe some streaming on the Dead Draw Gaming channel that's not necessarily me. A few of the AM team members have actually reached out to me asking me about it. So nothing's 100% confirmed for that, but we're talking about it, and you might see some different faces on the channel that are not me.
I'm interested in seeing how that goes with our fans, because we have a lot of Dan fans right now.
Mm-hmm. I think that ultimately a collaboration of players who are good at Pokemon and me will end up being a good thing.
Okay.
Especially like if I'm not like completely taken out of it, you know. If other people are streaming on the channel, it's obviously going to give me less time to do it. But, you know, I do think that it's a little refreshing almost. So,
okay, cool. For my open discussion, my biggest news is I've moved Pokemon League to Sundays, and I had, 2 people come, so same as average. Didn't see a hit to my numbers, but we did spend some time actually talking about what we are going to do to change those numbers to get people coming through the door. And I think we had some really good ideas. One of the guys there is an alderman, which to people that don't live in Wisconsin is a city councilman, like sits on the council. So really cool to have him on board and helping us find a path towards a very strong, successful Pokemon League.
Nice.
Yeah. And I guess the store also started the process of getting pre-release tournaments. So not 100% sure that we'll get them if we'll qualify, but I mean we're trying, right? We're out there.
Pre-release tournament, that's the first tournament that you can get before like league challenges and stuff.
No,
right?
no. Generally, as far as I'm aware, Pokemon wants you to have league challenges first.
Ah, okay.
But maybe since I've got so much experience with challenges and cups, they might move us up the scale. We'll see. I doubt it, honestly.
I don't know how else I'm going to get my points. So never going to make it to Worlds without those league challenges.
I think I have to start making some just for fun tournaments and have people come to them. That'll probably speed up the process.
Yeah, definitely get more people through the door. So
that's all I got for this week. Dan, why don't you take us on home?
All right, then. So, you guys, if you enjoyed episode number 74 of Dead Draw Gaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast, make sure to hit that like button down below and share this podcast with all of your friends. Make sure to join us next week for episode number 75 already. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the different things we talked about earlier, the mark sleeves and deck checks and some of the different things going on in the game right now. So be sure to be on the lookout. But that's all we have for you guys this week. So for Danny, for Darren, and for myself, Dan, we will see you next time.